let's have a think about what it means to us and to Australians. Probably not much. But cultural appropriation, more or less in the title, the appropriation of another person's culture by someone not of that culture.
You can't use a word to define the word. Right?
I didn't.
Find another...
I didn't, you twit.
You did.
I didn't.
You used appropriate to define appropriation.
I'm assuming our listeners know what the word appropriation means.
Maybe they don't.
Okay. Appropriation is to take without permission. For our listeners who are quite literally the layman. So, I mean, the controversy is that some minority groups and minorities, and even some majority groups, are claiming cultural appropriation, when it probably...
Example, please.
Example A.
Alright, so
dreadlocks, white people can't wear them because they're Rastafarian. There's an example.
So,
Ancient Greeks had dreadlocks, and so did Scandinavians.
Shh. I'm a white guy from Whitesville, Alabama, somewhere.
He sure is.
Hey, sure fuck is.
And I love me some rap music, and
you love the 50 Cent,
and it really speaks to me. And I got into some of the Jamaican style rap music, and I caught on to the Jamaican lifestyle and the way they look, and the dreadlocks and the Rasta hat. That's wrong. Don't do that. You look like a fool. That's what we're saying.
No, I think you can look foolish.
Yeah, well, I guess what people are saying is you can't wear that because it's not part of your culture. Or you can't wear a Rastafarian hairdo because you're not Jamaican.
So does that mean that black people shouldn't straighten their hair? They should just leave it in an afro? Because
they probably should.
If they straighten their hair, then isn't that a white thing?
If they straighten their hair, they're damaging it. But
that's true.
Can a Australian white person who's born here, lives here, knows only here, become a Muslim and wear the hijab thing?
Well, I think religion is a different thing, isn't it? Really?
I think religion is very different.
Okay.
Because
Just
religion speaks to all men and women.
Religion is ideologically based, faith-based. It's not race-based.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Some people want to try to make the argument that, like, you know, Muslims, for example, are a race. That's just not true. It's an ideology.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only race religion we could say would be Jewish people.
Yep, that's it.
And that's it.
So same thing, just replace Muslim with Jew and put in the Jewish, put in the yarmulke.
But that's a cult. It's a religious thing again, though, right?
Yeah, that is a real. I mean, you wouldn't wear a yarmulke.
Wouldn't have the tussles if I'm like a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white Australian. I don't know. Like,
well, there are blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jews, but
there are.
Yeah,
I think once again, that's a religious thing.
Okay,
it's not. I mean, because not all Jewish people are practicing. They're not all Orthodox. So, with cultural appropriation, in my opinion, you're looking at people that are taking parts of other people's cultures that they find fascinating or appealing, and they decide to make that part of their personal identity, who they are. Okay, so best example is always white guys with dreads, right? And most of the time, these white guys taking on dreadlocks and stuff like that is because they do identify with some sort of Rastafarian thing. They like to smoke a bit of weed or something like that, right? Something as
they like to smoke a bit of ganja.
Yeah. I don't think that the majority of, white people with dreadlocks are harking back to their Greek or Scandinavian Viking heritage. I really don't. But the truth of it is, if a white person did want to, and they happen to be Scandinavian or Greek or something like that, or Persian, and they said, well, look, we've got evidence that our cultures had dreadlocks and they wanted to wear them for that reason, then they're more than welcome to. I don't think anyone has the monopoly over dreadlocks.
So are you suggesting that if it's for Scandinavian reasons, it's all right, but for Rastafarian, not so much?
I just think that if you did want to have a quarrel with someone over what they're doing in terms of their fashion or hairstyle, you could, if you really wanted to, take umbrage with that. I personally, I don't care. I don't care that white people run martial arts dojos. I don't care. If you have trained in a martial art, right? I'm an Asian person. I don't know martial arts. But if
You're a disgrace to
You
your
definitely
I am.
don't.
My dad
Your fighting
disowned me
skills
already.
are hella weak.
yeah, I'm really weak, really weak.
You are minus
But
white belt.
I grew up with a bunch of people that loved martial arts, and none of them were Asian, and they were great fighters. Some of them were champions,
Yes.
like actual champions. Now, if they wanted to, then they were instructors and stuff as well.
Yes.
If they want to open up a dojo and have a martial arts dojo, why is that offensive to me? Why do I care about that?
And interestingly, martial arts is a worldwide thing. There are other cultures apart from Asians who have martial arts, right?
But I was referring to
I know,
specific
I know.
disciplines that are Asian.
That's what I was getting to. But these particular people who you're referring to were in the Korean arts.
Yes.
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 And the Chinese arts, some of them.
Yep.
But most of the person that we're talking about was a Korean martial artist.
Yes.
Korean style martial artist.
Taekwondo.
Taekwondo.
Yeah.
Taekwondo.
Is that offensive? Is that cultural appropriation?
Nah, man, that's just fucking cool. I want to
Yeah.
ninja kick someone. I want to do some fly kicks.
So what's
Well, I guess if
What's
you were,
the difference then between someone wearing dreadlocks and someone learning martial arts? Martial arts isn't from your heritage. The dreadlocks aren't from your heritage. And you want to become a martial arts instructor, you want to work at a dojo, you espouse the culture and the traditions of the martial art, you live your life that way. That's basically the best example of cultural appropriation.
I think the crux of the problem here is that we need to stop thinking of national identities and start thinking of ourselves as everyone is more or less the same, right? We're all human beings. Stop worrying about some white guy wearing dreadlocks or some black guy having his hair straightened. Not that that really is a thing, but
No, well, it's more of a thing with black women.
yes. There are a few black men who have their hair straightened though as well.
Well, Beyonce has her hair straightened.
Pretty much all black women, not all, but a lot have their, particularly African American women, have their hair straightened.
So is that okay? I mean, I know that the counter argument to that is that there's a pressure on them to look a certain way. There's a pressure on these people to look white. That's what their argument would be.
Can I share a little story? Mm-hmm. So I go to a family gathering. I've got a cousin of mine who got engaged recently. And they've got a relative on their side of the family who I think had a marriage with a black dude, had some kids. That ended. Now has another relationship with another black dude. But she is Italian parents, Italian, all the way back, white, Italian, whatever. She looks, dresses, has shaved half of her head, has cornrows. Everything about her is black influenced. Does she have a license because she has black children? She really loves the culture. She's about a step away from blackface, to be honest with you. That's how much she's really
This is your cousin?
taken that. No, not my cousin.
Oh.
It's my cousin's something.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of almost a little bit humorous, if I had to say. Because when I saw her, I was like, man, this chick's really embracing black, but she's like Italian, man.
I think at that point it's just sad.
I mean, look, I don't know her too much. but
In Australia, we have very different cultural norms to America. So, I mean, in Australia, because there's not many black voices in this country, because there aren't many black people here, you know, you're going to have less of a reaction to that from black citizens, right? Whereas in America, again, 11 to 15, whatever percentage it is, are black, and they're quite heavily prevalent in media. So there's that.
I know the point you're getting at.
Yeah.
And I agree with it. It's like there's going to be hardly any backlash against this lady over here because the representation of the culture is just so minimal to begin with from the progenitors.
Yes.
Whereas in America, I mean, like, you know, the braids and all these types of things and the way you dress and the
what I'm
hip-hop
saying
culture.
is she did it here, not so bad. Did it in America, she might get lynched.
yeah.
I think she would be told sternly that this is not your culture.
Depending on where she was.
Yeah.
She was in South Central LA, she might
Yeah.
get lynched.
See, but then there's certain things
She's
like...
gone, yeah.
And I know I ragged on Eminem last time a lot. And
mean him.
one thing I didn't mention was the fact that he's also a prime candidate for cultural appropriation. And that's a huge thing that I missed that I'm very upset that I did. So I'm glad I get to bring it up now.
One.
Because he seems to get away with it because he is very talented.
Right, yeah.
And he's being co-signed by black people.
So are we saying that if a powerful black person okays it, then the whole culture should okay it?
I'm saying that that's what happened with him.
Yeah. But is that what we're thinking here?
I'm
Pretty
saying
much.
that's the reality.
Yeah.
I'm saying a lot of white rappers need to get co-signed.
Yeah. Well, they all need to be legitimate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Machine Gun Kelly.
Yep.
Who's he signed with? T.I.?
Machine Gun Kelly ended up signing with Bad Boy.
Bad Boy. Bad Boy. Mm-hmm. Because
Not sure if
there are
he's
a
still
few.
there,
There are
though.
a few white rappers. The Alabama guy who's half Native American is a little bit different because he has his own label, doesn't he? But what's that under?
What's his name? Sorry, Yellow Wolf.
Yellow Wolf.
Yellow Wolf's on Shady Records. He's
Okay,
co-signed
so
by
Shady
M.
Records. Yeah, there you go.
And M's co-signed by Dre,
Dre.
and 50. So,
Yeah.
he's co-signed by Dre, and then he's like sort of re-endorsed through someone like 50 Cent, who's like really
Because did
street,
50...
really hood.
So Dre had signed with Eminem. Did 50 sign with Eminem?
50 signed to Shady and
Yeah,
Dre.
Shady Records, yeah.
So when Eminem heard 50, he said, "I'm going to get Dre to help out with this as
Shady
well,
Aftermath.
and we can basically create the greatest rapper on the
right,
planet."
yeah.
Shady Aftermath?
Yep.
Shady Aftermath, yeah.
Yes. So...
Aftermath.
Yeah. So, can I just talk about a famous video on YouTube that really blew up, and it was to do with dreadlocks?
Go on.
Okay, so I think it was San Francisco, a university, a young white man who looked very hippie-ish and sort of wannabe Rastafarian was walking around with dreadlocks. A girl named Bonita something stopped him anyway. She was with this other guy, and they were both black. And she said to him, she stopped him and grabbed him by his shirt and pulled him to the side of this staircase. And she said, "Why are you wearing your hair like that?" And someone happened to be filming it with their phone. And then he said to her, "What do you mean? I can wear my hair however I like." And then she said, No, you don't understand. You're not allowed to wear your hair like that. And then she turned to her friend and said, "Have you got a pair of scissors?" And she was going to actually try to cut this dude's hair off right there in public.
So she's going to assault him.
As she already had assaulted him by grabbing
Correct.
his shirt and pulling him when he tried to get away.
Double assault.
Yeah. And then he ended up saying to her, "Get away from me. I can do whatever I want," And then he basically said to her, "They used to have like dreadlocks in all these other cultures and stuff as well, in Egypt and stuff like that." And then they asked him if he was Egyptian, and then he said it doesn't matter. And, I just thought that was a really good example of people losing their mind over something absolutely insignificant.
Fake rage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, these are trivialities. Unless you're doing it to mock that particular culture, then who fucking cares?
Yeah, and he's obviously doing it out of appreciation.
If you want to wear a kimono around, I think too many Japanese people are going to be worried about it.
No, I think they would be flattered by that, to be honest with you.
Or if you're wearing a beret around, are the French going, "Oh, this asshole is wearing my culture. Kill him with the baguette."
See, but that's where I was talking about earlier, where you take these things to their logical extension and they make absolutely zero sense.
Yeah.
Like, if you really want to take cultural appropriation all the way, stop eating at Chinese restaurants. Stop using chopsticks when you go to these restaurants.
I love using me chopsticks.
Well,
And white
interest-
people love using chopsticks. I don't find it offensive at all. Find that, as an Asian person, I find it flattering that they're willing to try to learn.
I'm good at it.
Good, great. That's awesome. I'm happy for you.
They love
too.
failing. They love failing at using chopsticks.
This is a slippery slope, and I know you don't like that term, last name Charlie.
I don't mind it.
But it is a slippery slope because while it could be applicable in some circumstances, it's not applicable across the board, and it doesn't hold across the board.
In my opinion, it's only applicable if you're making fun of the culture.
Yeah.
Like, if you're wearing blackface to make fun of black people, yeah, you probably shouldn't be doing that.
See, that's not even cultural appropriation. That's just racism. Blackface is like from
Not in Australia.
minstrel show
Not in
days and
Australia.
stuff like that, where they were actually like, really sort of
Yeah.
gross
Grant
racial
Daniel,
caricatures.
Grant Daniel.
Yeah.
Grant Daniel.
Yeah, man. Can't do blackface in Australia. What's his name?
No, you can.
Harry Connick
People do
Jr.
blackface.
He'll get upset at you, man.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I mean, that
he
was
got
understandable.
real
Like, I
upset
think
too.
blackface is terrible.
He got
Shouldn't be doing
real
that.
upset. I watched that episode. That wolf, mate, he was not...
What, Harry Connick?
Yeah.
Yeah, he lost his fucking mind on
What did he say? He goes,
Saturday.
he's going to be, hey, there's no more show.
Yeah, well, this is in America,
That's
though.
what he said.
Yeah. It's funny because he's white,
But he
but
was
from
But he
yeah.
appropriates
from New
black
Orleans,
music.
and and there you go. Like, Harry Connick Jr. could be accused of like severe cultural appropriation from making millions upon millions of dollars off something that doesn't belong to his culture.
like
But-
Elvis and Eminem.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
no culture exists in a monocultural paradigm. All culture is informed by other cultures. There is no monoculture on Earth.
So then, who's allowed to play basketball, or it doesn't matter?
Well, white people invented basketball. Dr. James Naismith was a doctor, and he created basketball. I think sports is one of those great examples of how you get everybody together and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Well, most modern sports were invented by white dudes, right?
Yeah.
Soccer, modern soccer, not
Yeah.
ancient soccer. Modern soccer, modern basketball,
Yeah.
basketball in general.
Basketball's a modern sport
rugby,
anyway. Right? It's more
yeah.
modern than the rest of
Pretty
them.
much all the sports we play these days, apart from maybe some of the Olympic sports like fencing, marathon, those sorts of things, which are older and have...
Cricket.
But it's
Cricket's pretty new.
like
No,
Pretty-
cricket.
basketball was like a great example because
Polo.
basketball's a great example because it's like you had it as this like mostly white sport for the longest time, right? With the one or two
And then it
black
was
guys
quite
running
Jewish,
around.
wasn't it? A lot of Jewish people
Yeah,
started
I think
playing
it was
in the 40s, right?
Yeah. And when that was before it was the NBA. It was like the ABA or whatever it was. So, but then as time goes by, like these African American players come in, these black guys, and they just take the game to a whole new level of artistry. I mean, you look at someone like
Perfected it.
Yeah, they perfected it. You look at someone like Michael Jordan.
Elevated it.
Yeah, he just beautiful to watch play basketball. Just the style and the presence and the aura, the moves, the movement in general. And there's so many other players you could mention.
Larry
like
Bird.
Larry Bird was great. For a white
Magic
guy.
Johnson.
Magic Johnson, they
Kareem.
gave basketball a flair and an attitude that white people didn't bring it to the table. But now if you look at all the white people that have grown up, these young white guys watching all these fantastic African American players, you can see where they've taken on board what they brought to the game and they've added it as well. So while there isn't that many great white basketball players in the NBA, there's a few really good ones. I mean, is that cultural appropriation? Like taking the way black people sort of like innovated basketball and then doing it yourself?
The flair, the style.
Yeah, the flair and the
Well,
style.
this is the whole argument I'm trying to put together. Culture builds on multiple things. So you don't ever have just, apart maybe from AFL, there are very few monocultural concepts, right?
Yeah.
Very few of them
Yeah.
that exist in the modern world.
Yeah,
Most have been adapted or have changed with the times.
yeah.
Right? And to get butthurt about someone wearing what you might consider your culture without any wrongdoing in mind, it's pretty petty, right?
It's really
Right.
petty.
It is.
And aren't we supposed to, in the Western world, I mean, we're supposed to be living in these multicultural democracies, and they want everybody to get along, and they keep promoting that this is a multicultural society. They beat everyone over the head with it. And
Our
at the
government?
moment people start to embrace each other's cultures and want to get into it, everyone starts getting all butthurt.
Yeah, there's a kickback in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
Shit happens. And all
Yeah,
that
it's
sort of stuff,
ridiculous. Like, allow people to appreciate each other and to pay respect to it by engaging with it.